welcome to the High Performance Cricket Podcast. Today, if you listen to this podcast in full, I can guarantee that you will take away something that can make you a better cricketer right now today. Whether you're a cricketer striving to make it to the top, whether you're a coach who's trying to help other cricketers achieve their dreams, or you're a parent of a cricketer who wants their kid to get the best out of themselves and enjoy their cricket as much as you possibly can, this is the podcast for you. I'm your host, Jason Cox, the founder of High Performance Cricket. And at High Performance Cricket, we combine strength and conditioning, mental skills, the cricket technical and tactical skills, and overall lifestyle development from nutrition, recovery, and everything that goes into making cricketers a better player. I have all my links down below in the description. If you have any interest in working with us to become a better cricketer or your child to become a better cricketer. But for now, let's get into the show.
He's had a stress fracture, all right? Classic L4 coming back. Have you spoken with his mum, Lindsay?
Yeah.
Okay. Lovely family. So basically, I get this footage and I'm thinking, okay, what am I seeing that could be the possible cause? And you know, this angle in particular I'm looking at. And like, it's not a train crash.
No. When you say that angle, what particular angle, like, let's say if someone was listening to this, how do you describe a non-favourable angle for that?
Well, I always think with any injuries, my immediate need is to have a look at seeing a bowler from behind. Because I place with injuries, or someone has been injured or prevention of injury, I place a really high value on energy at the target. And with back injuries, I'm particularly already injuries. Really, I'm particularly looking. Is there any change of direction? Because if there is, there's always compromises in an action. So, for instance, if this guy Cameron runs in towards corner of the net, at some point something will have to go that way to balance it out to end up at the target, because his brain still knows he wants to bowl the ball straight and hit those stumps. But I'm looking out for something that needs to go that way. So with this one, whilst it's not an absolute train crash, it just means I have to look at things a little bit closer. And what I'm looking at his running technique. I'm looking at his arms. All right. And I'm looking at his arms because there's not something that jumps off my screen that says, right, he's falling away, lateral flexion, blah, blah, blah. There's not masses of that. But I'm looking at the way he runs, and I'm looking at that left arm in particular. See the left, well, you can't see it, but the left arm goes right across his body.
Yeah, 100%. It's like that swinging across, and it's
So at that point, when the arm swings across, it wants to send it. So his pelvis is changing direction. As soon as that goes away, look at his pelvis now. His shoulders have started rotating. There's compromises throughout, just simply because of the way he uses his arms.
Yeah.
Now this is the change of direction. If you have a look at where that foot is pointing, it's now pointing over here. So now his hips are going that way as well. So this is where I think is the possible cause. All right, because there is a change of direction. It's not even subtle if you know what you're kind of looking at.
100%.
But because there's a shift in direction, I'm looking at it where his feet are pointing. I then say, well, what the hell's causing that? And so that's where I go to his arms. What is going across his body as opposed to up and down vertically through the target? Because up and down vertical, we're keeping moving in that direction. So with you, mate, I reckon, so that's all good. That foot is the one that does it. And there's that shift in direction. So when I was on the call with him and both his parents, I did exactly this. I did just have a look at where his feet are landing.
Yeah, she does quite nicely to recover, doesn't he? And gains like a pretty strong position there.
Yeah, he recovers nicely. But I said, right, well, his feet, whilst his feet alignment back foot to front foot is pretty good. You can see his head going that way a little bit.
Right.
But
Yeah,
his
100%.
feet are lining him up there.
Yeah.
And the reason why I think it's important is because he's a midway bowler. If he was a side-on bowler, I could kind of think, yeah, okay, he's running in towards leg slip. Most side-on bowlers do, because to help that rotation of their shoulders, their hips, and then they unwind. But because he's like a midway bowler, I'm saying, well, I'll tell you what you do, Cam. Instead of what we I know a guy who works online. What I want you to do, Cam, is to start your run up from straighter. And because you're a midway bowler, you can afford to just run straight in that direction. You don't need an angle or as much of an angle. So lots of alignment stuff, get the starting point of his run up, and also with your help, I think that foot changes the direction because of what his arms do. So there's a bit of running technical stuff to do.
I think so. I think you can actually see as well, even before early on the run up, he's obviously quite raw and gangly. So you can see like
You
he
can see
spends
his
a
left
lot of
hand
time,
there. You can see his left hand right across his body. Yeah.
and you can see there how like it affects his left leg as well. See how like his left leg will flick out to the side a little bit too.
Mm-hmm.
And then he's pretty heavy on the ground, which he's a big kid, big gangly kid who's done no running technique coach or anything like that. So you can tell he's just a big kid who needs to feel into his body, get a bit of coordination, and
yeah.
And I think it's almost like I reckon for these sort of kids, getting injured is like almost a blessing in disguise, and then it forces them to then go and work on their body. Otherwise, they'll just do that big gangly kid who just stays the same the whole time. So look, sometimes injury is the best time to look at what's going on and then put together a plan to iron out some of these issues.
Yeah, I agree. So I also mentioned to them on the call about, I just asked some questions around S&C. What does he do? It's not a lot. Okay, the bit you do because he goes to a private school. The bits you do, is it specific for cricket, for bowling? Obviously, the answer is no. So you've got a lot to work with. And then for this one here, as soon as that back foot hits the floor, there's a good bit of research now that says if somebody's in like a jackknife position, actually they are going to struggle to get upright as they go into front foot contact. He actually does pretty well. His action from side on is actually not the worst, mate. So it's almost like keeping the good bits, the good positions. I'd like him to be in an upright position as opposed to forwards. I think that he's in a more forwards position simply because of the position he's in at back foot contact. Love that to be there, which it would do if he was slightly further back there. But there's a lot of research about this position here. So with your help, glute activation, preparing to bowl, getting these firing as his last line of defense to keep him upright. Because if these aren't firing, this is what happens. He simply cannot get upright. You see what I mean?
100%. Yeah. He just needs a body that can handle those forces, eh?
Correct. Yeah.
He just can't handle it at the moment.
Yeah.
He's just those big, taller, skinny kids. They get into these really big positions, like they're really big and long limbs, and you need a lot of structural integrity. You need to be really strong, especially around like the midline of your body, like hips, core,
Yeah.
through the legs, to just be able to hold up
Yeah.
that big frame.
So yeah, that's kind of where we're at with him. Lovely family. I put together a back to bowling program for him, starting at very low intensity. I messaged his mum earlier on, actually. She's not got back to me because I want to know, has he been able to follow it? It's low intensity, pretty much just focusing on the alignment stuff. I gave him some, I'll show you. I gave him some pretty crude and simple drills and stuff to do. This was the alignment drill, classic string on the floor, running straight towards the target, staying upright. So I talked him through that drill, what I felt was important, gave him a classic hurdle drill. All the while I said, look, you got to contact Jason. So a little bit of running, but to be honest, this is lower body. It wouldn't do him any harm. But then I gave him an upper body one as well. I think I've shown you this one before, haven't I? I've shown you that one.
No, I haven't seen this one actually. What's this one? Here you go.
Oh, they're broomstick handles, but you can have a stump in each hand as well. Just hold it at one end, and what you got to do is you get them running, like tempo running, getting them closer to, or as close to their run up speed as possible, and preventing the ends from crossing. So with Cam, if his elbow comes out here, the stump or the broomstick handle goes right across his body. And the same there. So it's a simple drill where they run 20 to 30 meters, and their objective is to prevent the ends from crossing. And the only way they can do that is to get their hands and their elbows moving more vertically as opposed to horizontally.
Love that. That's awesome.
You add in the hurdles and stuff as well, all of a sudden you've got a pretty decent kind of running, a couple of running drills. But yeah, those are the only 2-3 that I've shared with him so far. But obviously, because he's had a stress fracture, I don't know how bad it was, to be honest, but they took him to one of the highest qualified back specialists in the country. Like, all the pros go and see him. So he's kind of back ready to bowl, but I did say, look, I can give you some drills, but unless you address your S&C, it's pretty pointless because you won't be able to hold those positions when you increase the intensity, which is why they reached out to you, really.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like it just working hand in hand so well. Like, you need to be able to hold the positions for longer, and it's like one thing to be able to do it at the start of your spell, but then it's like we know that stress fractures come from fatigue, and if your technique falls away when you go back into like your second or third spell or the fifth or sixth over of a spell, then it's just under fatigue, back into bad habits.
Yeah,
that's where it all happens. Have you talked to him about his workload in the season? Do you know much about what his workload was like last year to get his like when he got his stress fracture?
Yeah, he bowled a lot, so there was a spike, and so he's a kid that was asked to play. It wasn't county age group cricket, but it was like the step below, so he wasn't going to say no, and it coincided with 2 or 3 weekends of him playing club cricket, playing county cricket during the week, 4 or 5 days bowling in a row. So yes, there was a little bit of technical stuff in there, but I went through and said, look, this is all contributing, because you're going from a little bit to a lot, and there's no time to recover. You're not strong, you're not weak, you're not able to kind of recover and stuff. So yeah, that all went into the mix as well, really, in the conversation. But there was definitely a spike.
Crazy, because I'm not sure how much research in that like UK cricket does, but Cricket Australia are like pretty massive in their pathway system of they have like a set sort of rule for junior cricketers that we have for under 17. It's like 1-3-5. It's like don't bowl more than one day. No more than 1 day in a row. 3 days in a week, 5 overs in a spell, and then it's 2-4-6 for under 19s, where it's no more than 2 days in a row, 4 overs, four bowling times in a week, and then 6 overs in a spell. Obviously, it's like rules, and like sometimes it's impossible to adhere to that, but that's the rule that's what they push from their research. I think it's like, I think for junior cricketers that I was talking to the guys at Cricket Victoria there, what they have found from their like own research is that bowling volume in a week is like okay, but it's more that frequency. So like the CV physio is like, if you bowl, let's say 12 overs, if you bowl 12 overs like on a Wednesday, that is like, he found it like 5 times better than bowling like 3 overs on Monday, 3 overs Tuesday, 3 overs Wednesday, 3 overs Thursday. Like you're well more at risk from that frequency of bowling.
Yeah, so I'm going more on bowling days now. Of course, I've got an eye on how many they're bowling, but bowling days are the important thing.
100%. I agree.
Interesting. I'm just trying to think up.
I guess some kids who bowl, like, they play so much cricket on the weekends. It's like they play Friday night, Saturday morning, Saturday afternoon, Sunday, and then they train during the week. And I'm just like, oh my this is not good for your kids. I'm like, what are you doing?
I mean, but kids, you don't know what you don't know, right? And so, but coaches do know. They do have that knowledge and expertise, and yet, you're still placing massive demands. And some coaches only have one eye, or the only pair of eyes on their team. They're not asking the questions about, what has he bowled in the last week or two? They've only got, that's their priority, their team sort of thing. So there's a real kind of, and the kid's not going to say no. Of course they're not. So it's a weird one, mate, honestly.
I have the exact same. That is the exact same thing that I say. It's like, especially like, it's always the best young talented bowlers. I always say it's like everybody wants them for their team, but like no, like the region team wants them to bowl for their team, the club team wants to bowl for their team, the school team wants them to bowl for that team, but no one's like, everyone's like so pigeonholed looking at their own, which is fair enough with everyone, like, which is, you don't really think of that when you take up a local coaching job, but that's why it's so important for even young cricketers to just like take control of their own schedule, I feel like, and pick and choose, say, yes, this is where I'm going to bowl. I'm going to bowl here, here, here. And then I'm just going to like bat and field at these sessions and just be a bit smarter with that stuff, because everyone, like when you're a gun junior, everybody wants you to play for them. Like it's just how it is. So it just takes a bit of ownership, doesn't it, from the kid and the parents to just be like, okay,
that's
what we need to know.
And it's the skill of the coach, I reckon, to create those relationships with all the other coaches that also want that same kid to play. And placing a massive importance that the player is the most important person in all of this. Somebody's got to manage it. I mean, that's the challenge. Somebody's got to manage it. And it can't always be. It won't be the parents. It's got to be somebody that understands. Yes, if they're not bowling, they're not improving. They need to dip in and out, or stretching them. So maybe playing above their age group and all this kind of stuff. But then having the opportunity to go back down if their form collapses or something like that. So opportunity to slide up and down. But somebody managing that, and in conjunction with all the other, stakeholders and stuff. And the people get pissed off because, Daniel cannot play school games for the next 2 weeks because he would have done too much like during the week. I mean, it's really interesting. to be honest. But you know, I mean, what? Yeah, I just think it needs a bit of care. That's all it is, really.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the best way to actually do it for. Because I understand you need rep games, you need as you progress through the levels, you need to play games,
Yeah.
but you also need to look after the kids. I think a lot of it is just prioritizing the higher the rep stuff more, and just if you are in rep teams, prioritize your highest level of cricket first, and then get your loads there. And then if you have loads left over that you need to bowl, then do it at your school,
Yeah,
and then do it at your club, or I think it's about setting the priorities early, and then all right, this is number one priority, this is number two, this is number three, and then working back from there. I'm not sure. I think that might be the best way to go about it.
yeah,
But
probably. There's players that are good enough will always punch through at some point.
always.
But those players also have a history of performing consistently well. So if a player that you have a bit of a hunch about, and you play them up one or two age groups, but they're not performing, at some point you've got to find a way to allow them to perform, because if they're still getting out, getting starts but getting out, and they haven't got that experience of going big. But we know that's a trait for players that do eventually punch through. You got to find those opportunities as well, I reckon, because that's what all the greats have done. They perform consistently well, and they might perform consistently well, playing 2 years above their actual age. And in that case, great. But if you've got a hunch about somebody, but they're not performing in that level, having those opportunities to play them at their own age group where they can dominate is probably important as well.
Yeah, that's the thing. Learning how to dominate. That's something we've talked about too. We had one at my club as well a few years ago, and it was do you push him through and get him into the ones, or do you stick him in and keep him in the twos and threes and dominate and earn his stripes? That balance between exposing talent to the top, giving them a taste, but also allowing them to develop and grow. I reckon I'm trying to think back. I reckon the Cricket Victoria, with the guys that have sort of come through and made it, the guys they've sort of fast tracked a lot of guys.
Yeah,
and I think and eventually, and it feels like that it takes longer, because let's say someone debuts at 18, and they don't hit their straps until 23. It's you've been seeing them playing professional cricket for 5 years, and they haven't, and then they finally click. But then it's if they were playing just club cricket, then they might not have got there till 25, but they would have been hidden. So it's that patience and performance and winning versus development to tough little balance, I feel like.
Yeah. It's a real interesting one, because it's a puzzle that needs solving. And that's all it is. It's a fascinating one. So I'm not working with many. The most common, I reckon, I was just going to talk about injuries and stuff. The most common cause is what we've just been talking about. So when you start asking the mechanism leading into injury is always, it could be one of a number of things, right? But if I were to, put my hat on it and say, right, this is the highest percentage of causes of injuries, in my opinion, it would be absolutely a spike in workloads.
100%.
And then when you look at it, somebody who is not conditioned the way they should be to cope with that load. So it's the common cause. Yeah, absolutely.
I would actually go, how I actually see injuries is every injury is a workload injury. It's every time someone gets injured, the load that goes through the the bone, muscle, ligament, tendon, whatever it is too high for what it can handle. And that can be like chronic with the like stress fracture, like, you know, 3 weeks of bowling with like, but only having like 4 rest days, or it can be like the force from like a car crash and then you break your leg because that force is just straight through that leg and then you just couldn't handle that kind of force. It can be the taking off for a sprint when you're fatigued. So your hamstrings got compromised and then the load to the hamstring makes it strain. So I think that's how I see it in all injuries. It's like it's always workload, and then it's like looking at the big picture, then finding what is the biggest rock to change, or what big rocks can we change to then either decrease the load on a joint. So whether it's like changing technique and making it more efficiency, offload the lower back, load everything else more evenly. Is it changing the actual workload of balls bowled, which is very easy in our control, or is it, are we using the gym and fitness and building strength to increase the load that it can handle? Is it then for nutrition, for like bone health optimization, to then increase the load that the bones can handle, as well as it tidying up sleep? And if you sleep better, it allows you to have more effective training sessions, which means then you can increase the load capacity of that joint. I think it all comes down to just identifying what's the limiting factor in the load tolerance, and then let's move towards that. But I reckon like in 99% of cases, it's you just look at everything, don't you? You look at what's your like actual, how much work are you doing? What's your running, gym, fitness, bowling? Then it's like, all right, well, let's get it stronger, and then let's improve your technique.
It is really, when you spend time like trying to work things out. I made a note. I just pulled it up here. So possible causes: poor bowling technique, muscle imbalances, poor fitness and conditioning, biomechanical factors, inadequate warm-up and recovery, surface and environment conditions. So hard surface, uneven surfaces, that kind of stuff.
And once again, that changes the load as well. It's like indoor surfaces are 30% more load.
Footwear, equipment, overexertion, so spikes, workload management, psychological factors, so stress, anxiety. So, you know, there's a whole host of possible causes, and it's, you know, I did this. I always think that leading into an injury, there's always a bit of a change of behavior, and that change of behavior may be anxiety. They might feel something before they actually verbalize it. There's normally something that occurs just prior to an injury. So I am on the lookout all the time for changes of behavior. And if I see a change of behavior, you know, somebody is quieter than they normally are. They arrived at the ground late, or they got the wrong kit on, or they don't bowl quite as many balls as they normally do, or they don't do their bowling prep or their drills or whatever. I'll just sidle up and say, everything all right? Okay, no, is everything really okay? Because I've noticed this, and some players will open up. There might be something going on at home, no sleep, whatever it might be. But there's normally always a slight change of behavior, or, you know, not necessarily behavior, it's a change of workload and all sorts of bloody things. You know, I always carry my pillow around with me, home and away. I've got the same pillow. I might have a different bed, but I've got the same pillow. So yeah, it's a fascinating one. I mean, it's one of those, isn't it? Because we don't want injuries. We don't want to have this conversation, me and you. We don't want it to happen, but, you know, for whatever reason, whether it's neglect or lack of knowledge or egos or something, injuries do occur. So therefore, it's our job to kind of work out, you know, how do we prevent it from happening again? Because the bloody fractured back is bloody serious.
I know, 100%, big time. I wonder. I don't know the perspective of like not going through like a pathway junior system. So like when like if you go through like the Victoria, like 15, 17s, 19s, you get all this education on workloads and S&C and don't bowl back-to-back days, and write down your workloads so you can monitor it. Like so, from 14, this stuff has like been like ingrained in me, like daily wellness, things like that. So it's like I should not know this workloads stuff from like when I was 14, 15. So I didn't learn this stuff like through uni. This is stuff that's just ingrained in my head from a junior. So I actually don't know the perspective and the information that's being fed to people who aren't playing for like the state under 17s team, like in those pathways. So from what I've gathered from working with people, is that I think it's more of like an ignorance. I think like they just don't you don't know what you don't know around this stuff, because the conversation I had, I'm like hearing conversations that parents are telling me. I'm like, and they're like, oh, I'm not sure why he's been injured, and they're telling me, I'm like, I know exactly why he's been injured. Like, and like I could have told you when I was 15 that sort of thing. So I think education is just so important. And
that's it. Yeah,
I was lucky that I put up a reel the other day on Instagram. I have like a workloads guide, like a little PDF.
Yeah,
and it just pretty much just me talking through the Cricket Australia guidelines that they said have through on there. And I was very lucky the fact that reel actually got a lot of downloads, like a lot of views.
Yeah,
like 300,000. So it's just about, that's what people like us sort of are out there trying to let people know how to build their bowling loads, and just try and educate them the best they can, just so they're not over bowling. And I think as well, I reckon like you don't need to bowl crazy amounts to get better either. Like it's about quality for training over the quantity too. Like I think people get into the habit of junk volume, especially training loads, like game loads and that. I understand because you're playing games and that, but if it's just like a lot of training loads for no reason, you're not really getting better, then it kind of sucks to see people bowl themselves into the ground.
Yeah. See, I'm trying to, where possible, this is start of the year, so we're all pretty excited still, and everything we've done is geared ourselves up for the first 3 or 4 rounds of matches, and then we'll kind of regroup and then we'll go again. But through the English seasons, it's pretty relentless, really, and I'm trying to steer clear of those bowling days that you bowl just for the sake of maintaining your workloads. So making competition wherever possible, just to kind of add a little bit to the training, so the players don't feel that it's just to maintain. It's actually there to get competitive and also to improve.
100%. I think it's no empty balls. I think no empty balls. Do you reckon that's why as well? Like for like raw pace. Well, I feel like raw pace is down a little bit, and there is because it's just the sheer volume of balls. People are bowling, just fatigue and over bowling, and then knowing when you know you got to bowl more. Like if you know as a 15-year-old you got to bowl Friday, Saturday, Sunday, then you're probably not going to bowl 100%. Like you're going to bowl like at 90% comfortable, and then you're getting told the line and length is more important, put on a spot, and then you sort of lose that. Then there's a lot of kids in that same system that they don't then develop that raw pace. I know, a little theory of mine too.
You have to, so bowlers that are able to bowl at 70 miles an hour, they have to dip into that system every now and then. They probably can't do it all the time, or let's say 85 miles an hour. So when you're training, what you have to do is have those little pockets, those little phases where actually it's an open net. There's no actual net, but it's an open net, and you're going to bowl 3 over spell because I need you to dip into 85, 86 miles an hour, because then you're like shocking your body. Because if you train fast where appropriate, you'll maintain your quickness, the ball speeds I'm talking about. But if you train like a medium pace, you'll become it, basically. So you need to dip in and out. This is where I think the Australian cricket season is perfect, because you play a shield game. You get your recovery time in. I was speaking with Tratty about this. You get your recovery time in, and then you've got, a few more days to ramp back up, so you're hot and ready to go again. I mean, it's ideal. Here we don't. Our first game, we bowled every day of the game. We bowled every single day. We won the toss and bowled. Bowled them out the following morning, so that was day 2. We batted there overnight, got bowled out in day 3, bowled again on day 3, bowled again on day 4. So we started on the Friday, finished on the Monday. Tuesday was a day off. Wednesday, the lads were in, the bowling group were in for a recovery day, yoga, stretching, rub downs, that kind of stuff. And then here we are traveling up to Durham on the Thursday. So we've literally got, having bowled 4 days in a row. So here we are talking about, workloads and stuff. We haven't got a big enough squad at the moment to kind of pull guys out. So it's literally patching them up and being very mindful of recovery, what they eat, making sure they sleep, making sure they're prep, making sure that they don't over bowl pre-game. So these are valuable balls now. We're only in just about to start day or game 2 tomorrow. It's bloody difficult.
That's brutal. That's a brutal schedule. Do you guys, like, when you're traveling in that, how do you guys do later sessions so they can sleep in more and things like that? Like, how do you guys help them sleep better?
Well, it's an interesting one. We were talking about this over dinner, because some of the players are rooming together, whilst others have got single rooms. So we've got one lad who's rooming by himself because he's a snorer. He shouldn't do, because he's a junior player, but he's a snorer. But how do we make them sleep better? So the nutritionist advises them on supplements. So magnesium, later in the day helps. Stopping drinking after a certain time, so you're not interrupting sleep with having to pee. Beds are an issue, but we stay at decent hotels, so beds aren't, they're not a massive issue. Sometimes the bowlers will arrive later to the ground. If they've been in the dirt all day, they'll have a swim session at the hotel, a later breakfast, and then they'll get a different taxi or something so they can arrive later. So all these kind of stuff. But the bigger clubs, and we are a big club, but we're waiting on Bo Webster coming over, Tom Latham, Hassan Ali. So we're kind of a little bit short of our full squad at the moment, and so options, we're literally we're in performance mode big time.
Yeah, just get out there and play. Was there any other things you guys focus on to help get the guys up? Like, let's say you finish bowling on a Thursday and you need to bowl on the Saturday. What are they doing in between that exactly? Is it just that yoga, stretching, recovery, pool stuff? Is there anything in particular you guys do that might be a little bit different?
Well, I think the S&C, you have to speak with our S&C really, but some of the options would be cryotherapy. Some would be making sure that deep tissue massage, the usual kind of stuff. Pool sessions. You can play golf if you want, but we prefer you not to, for get rid of that rotation of the hips and the spine for a day. But if you choose to, make it 9 holes. And make sure that you get a buggy. You're not walking around, so you're off your feet as much as possible. But apart from that, we encourage napping during the day, literally 20-minute naps. But apart from that, it's the sleep. They have to monitor. They have to log in their kind of wellness scores every morning, so we can monitor stiffness and all this kind of stuff. And the medical team then like adapt individually based on what they receive in, really.
Mm-hmm. Do guys play sore all the time?
Yeah, most of them have got something going on. You know, we've got one of the stiffest bowlers in the world, like constantly stiff, and the medical team are doing what they can for him. And I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just something that he didn't get into the habit early enough to be flexible and not as stiff. But he's a quick bowler, and so you know he is going to feel. It's not DOMS; it's just stiffness.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I'm sure there'll be something else come along. Science will give us something else, some sort of pill to allow us to make up the following morning, like we haven't bowled a ball the previous day. I would have thought.
That'd be nice, wouldn't it? But yeah, you do find a lot of boys. They're playing through a lot of soreness, aren't they? Like it's just battling through and
Yeah.
not expecting to be 100% all the time because like you see the guys on TV and that playing, and you just go, oh yeah, like they must be fresh, feeling good, but
No,
more than likely they're all battling something pretty bad.
I think at the top end, it's a bit of a survival of the fittest. It's you know, who can take the most powerful painkillers and still roll themselves out of bed and do it again.
Mm-hmm.
It's a survival of the fittest to a large degree, from what I can tell.
100%, especially like back to back, like for international as well, like back to back tournaments or county cricket where you guys are playing so many games. Like it's crazy. When you guys go into like in like your 2020s and one day, isn't that, is that intertwined with your 4-day stuff, or is that its own separate tournament?
Randomly there's a block of T20s of like 6 weeks, but randomly they've put 2 Red Bull 4-day Red Bull games right in the middle of them. It's weird because I've always seen T20 as an opportunity to drop their workloads and maintain it down here. And then as we move closer to our next Red Bull game, start nudging up, getting them in earlier, getting a Red Bull in their hand, bowl a Red Bull spell, and then 3 hours later they're playing a T20 game sort of thing. But they've got these random 2 matches right in the middle of the T20. It's bloody weird. So it doesn't, unless you're a white ball specialist, in which case your loads don't really go up massively anyway. But the guys that are averaging like 35, 40 overs in a week, I can't really afford them to drop too much. It's so yeah, there is a bit of a block, but they've put in random two 4-day matches, which is a bit of a ball ache, really.
That's bizarre because it would be nice if like nice even opportunity, like drop for a bit, freshen the boys up, and then go again for a heavy block later on in the year. That would be ideal, wouldn't it?
Because you might have some Red Bull bowlers that their loads have been up massively, but they don't play T20. In which case, you take them out. You take them out for 2 weeks, go on holiday or whatever, and then you get them back into the gym, make them stronger, putting on some muscle mass, and then they start bowling. But you can't even do that because of these 2 in the middle, really.
Yeah, it's so bizarre. It's weird as.
Oh, yeah, I've got to shoot in a minute, mate. I've got and then, unless there's anything more you wanna cover on this.
Nah, mate, it sounds great, man. I'll leave it to it. No, it's late for you.
Have you recorded it? Okay. So I need to start using YouTube more.
100%.
We talked about this last time, actually. I've still got 700 bloody subscribers. Mate, God knows how.
People love Matt's great stuff. I reckon it'd be so good if you could, like, when you do like an in-person coaching session, if you could mic yourself up, that would be awesome.
Would you have to get, or would I have to get permission from the person I'm coaching to do that?
Yeah, probably. Yeah, yeah.
I mean, that's a great idea.
Even
stuff like tomorrow morning, I'm going to do a live. I have done some Instagram and TikTok lives. You get some weirdos on there, mate. Oh my God.
100%. I
Have
know.
you ever done it?
Yeah. Mate,
Yeah.
videos everywhere. It's crazy.
You get comments on your feed. It's like, oh my God.
Yeah.
So I've come away from Instagram, TikTok. It's just like, do I really need that? I know it's important for the algorithm and stuff, but to be honest, yeah. Have you ever done a YouTube live?
Have not, but apparently it's really good.
Yeah. Yeah. I think you got to apply or you got to go through some sort of I did look at it. So I'll get that at some point. Okay, listen, let me know you go with Cam and if there's any other information you need. But it's not a train crash, like we said. There's definitely some quick wins physically, and there's definitely some quick wins like alignment and stuff like that as well. So let's see what you can do.
100%. 100%. Sounds perfect. Seems like a good kid. So we'll be
Yeah.
I'll look after him. I just messaged him before actually, so I'll see if he gets back to me.
Yeah. Okay. All right, mate. Listen, stay in touch. Keep up the good work, and
You too, man.
yeah, any other opportunities, we'll keep going. But you know, I might just have to get you to give me a few lessons on YouTube and bloody automation and stuff. That could be ideal.
100%, man. Sounds great. I'll
Okay.
send you a few things.
Yeah. Okay. All right, mate. Good man.
Legend. See you later.
Thanks later. See you, mate. Cheers. Bye.
And that's a wrap for today's show. Thanks for watching, guys. I know you haven't subscribed yet, so please make sure you do right now. Leave a review and let me know any feedback or any questions that you have from this previous episode. If you are interested in becoming the best cricketer that you've ever been and getting coaching from me, I have all my links down below in the description for either my in-person based in Melbourne or my online coaching where you can be anywhere around the world. Thanks, guys. Feel free to share with a friend, and thanks for tuning in. Win the day.